You're listening to the Wedding Biz Network, the voice of the creative entrepreneur.
Come on, y'all!
Hey everybody, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, and this is an episode of The Next Level in which I have a guest co-host, and together we talk about the interview of the week and help suss out some of the tips and advice to help you bring your own business to the next level. And before I introduce today's guest co-host, I want to mention that last week's interview was with Zamir Kassam of Zamir Kassam Fine Jewelry, whose custom designed jewelry has been seen on the red carpet for 3 major films. And we had Carrie Goldberg, the travel and weddings director at Harper's Bazaar, as the guest co-host. So both of those interviews last week were really great. And now today, I want to introduce my guest co-host, and that is going to be Zainab Alsalih, founder and managing director of Carousel Events, a bespoke event design and wedding planning company based in Dubai. Hey, Zainab, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show today.
Yes, this is going to really be fun. And the person who we're speaking about is Abby MATESUN, founder and CEO of Malekfoto Films and Malekfoto Weddings. Abby is a 2-time Emmy-winning cinematographer as well, and filmmaker, photographer, public speaker, and 2-time Telly Award winner. And his wedding visuals have attracted over 60 million viewers over the world. So Zainab, I thought that at the beginning, it was toward the beginning of the interview when I was trying to learn more about his style, and he was explaining that it's actually, when shooting weddings, it's very cinematic, and that his perspective is that the couple are the main characters, the wedding party is the supporting cast, and the guests are the extras. And so when he goes in with that mindset, it really leads to a different result. I thought that was fascinating.
I think that is absolutely amazing that's how he approaches every single one of his couples and weddings when he sets on, shooting them. I think it's very important for couples to see how their cinematographer or their photographer thinks of them as the main and focal centerpiece of their work. It's also amazing because at the end of the day, it is their personal love story and it is very unique to them. And the only way to be able to capture it and showcase that love story is by approaching it the way Abby is approaching his couples. It was indeed very fascinating, I think. And I have not heard that analogy before. And I think that shows in his work.
Yeah, it does. I hadn't heard it either. And there's just so much emotion that it's just exuding emotion. I mean, of course, all film photography does because it's a wedding, the nature of the event that they're shooting. But Abby's, there's just more to it, and understanding how he thinks helps explain that.
I think he's also quite attuned to the, the love story between his couples as well. He does mention how he tries to understand a lot more about how they see each other and how their relationship evolved and how it started. And he wants to get to know them. And I think that's the only way he is able to capture them so perfectly. It's because he is going that extra mile and trying to find out who the subjects are. And I think that's just amazing, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And also finding out more about his process. He was talking about how he really wants to be a part of each portion of the process along the way. And so he mentioned that he likes to learn what kind of lighting is there going to be? What does the decor look like? What are the colors? So that he can take all of this into consideration. And I love that too. I mean, he's not just showing up and shooting or only getting to know the couple. He wants to really get a feel for the environment before he shows up.
I mean, that to me as a planner is going that extra mile. And for me, that's extremely important because it is part of the whole story. And, we're providing the backdrop to that story, the way we design our weddings and the way we plan them. So for a cinematographer to want to understand exactly, how we're planning on, designing a wedding or what's it going to look like and the colors and the look and feel, because he wants to understand how he's going to portray all of that on the day is extremely important. I always like to share with the people that we work with, whether a photographer or a cinematographer, like, let's sit down, we'll go through the mood boards and the color boards and the inspiration and the layouts. Some people are not really that interested in seeing our, how we are going to go about designing the wedding. So for me, when Abby said that, it really struck a chord, and I found that extremely thoughtful of him. Because we are absolutely putting a lot of attention and work to the weddings that we're designing with the couple. And so, working closely with them, because at the end of the day, it's their vision. So he also wants to understand what their vision is for their day, because it absolutely ties in to the story that he's going to tell.
Yeah, and I believe you mentioned mood boards. And I remember as we were talking about all of this and how he gets into all of that, he said that he actually storyboards it ahead of time, like a filmmaker, which I've never heard for a wedding about storyboarding in it. I think that was amazing.
Actually, I've not heard that as well. So
yeah,
that is actually fascinating. It really is.
Do you wish you could be a fly on the wall listening to music industry pros like Clive Davis, Jerry Moss, and Edwin McCain? Well, check out my other podcast, The Music Makers, where you can hear great stories from some of the biggest music industry professionals around. You can find it on your cell phone's podcast app or at themusicmakers.com. Again, that's The Music Makers.
Zainab, before we hit the recording button, you were mentioning that the way Abby works really allows you as the planner to focus on what you need to do, versus having to keep an eye on. Can you say more about that?
Absolutely. I mean, we of course, we have so much that we're juggling on the day as planners. And I liked when Abby basically said that we don't want the planner to babysit us. And that's exactly what we don't want to do. We are, of course, a team working together, and every single person is, part of a long chain. And if we have a weak link in the chain, I think it disrupts the whole process. So for us to be able to think that, our vendors or suppliers that are coming in and working with us on the wedding know exactly what they're doing, and without us having to hold their hands along the way, then that's absolutely music to a planner's ears, that they are going to have to put all their trust and know that they know exactly what they're doing on the day.
What's also occurring to me as you say that is that, I mean, not only can you trust that, but also I'm just thinking that this also reflects your work, right? The video
Absolutely.
At the end. And so it sounds like a plus as a planner and a designer that you're getting to have this to show your work in such a deep way.
Absolutely. Because, sometimes you do get the sense that a lot of times videographers don't really focus a lot on the details when it comes to the design side of the wedding, because their focus is more on the couple. But it's all important, and it's all part of it. And of course, for me, it's my work, and I need it to be captured in a way that reflects it the way it looked in reality, because a lot of times it might look amazing in reality, but it's not captured in the same, light or aesthetic that it really was on the day. So that's extremely important for us. Absolutely.
Well, and toward the end of the interview, he specifically talked about, I believe the way he said it was that the currency of a brand is in the visuals, and that if you don't have good visuals, you can't translate your brand story and what it stands for. And so that just says even more about the power of video to be able to communicate all of this more effectively.
Absolutely. I mean, photographs are amazing, but, photographs, and I think Abby touched on that as well. He said, a photograph is just a moment in time. You don't know what's happened before that or after that, but a video captures the whole story, and it shows you, what's happening then and before and after. And the same goes to our, when we're trying to show our work. With a single photo, people are just seeing one dimension of the wedding and our work, but whereas a video, it just captures everything. It even captures emotion. And Abby touched on that when he spoke about how he selects music and adds that music to actually, evoke all the emotion that comes with the video that he's captured as well. So it's very important for us as planners. And I think for a lot of businesses, visuals are extremely important, especially, today's world, where people rely on social media to find people. I think a lot of times I have people that actually, don't want to go to your website. They want to go to your Instagram account, and they want to look at your work on your Instagram account. So it's extremely valuable. And sometimes, we have to invest in working with the best photographers and the best cinematographers to capture our work, because at the end of the day, it's what we have to show for, because, we can't carry our work with us. That's what we have left of it after it's said and done.
Yeah. And before we go, Zainab, before we recorded, I remembered we were talking about how much you liked his definition of success, and you were mentioning in terms of competing within our industry.
Absolutely. I've always, just believed that, we don't compete with each other. You compete with yourself. And Abby just put that out there that, you don't really compete with other people. You compete with yourself. You're only, we're only as good as our last wedding, or you're only as good as your last job, because at the end of the day, you have to constantly outdo yourself. And that's the only way that we move forward, as creatives and as business owners. And, we push each other that way as well, I think. And he also said that success is not about the destination, but rather the journey. And I think that absolutely is, pivotal for anything that you do, is that you believe that it's not really where you're headed. It's how you're heading there. And I always tell my clients, it's really not about how, the wedding day itself, as much as the journey to that day, and that you must enjoy the journey to your big day, because if you don't, then I don't think that you're going to have the wedding of your dreams otherwise.
I couldn't agree more. I think you said that so well. Well, that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want to suggest that people check out your site, Zainab, and my understanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if your website is Carousel, Carousel.ae.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, good. So Carousel.ae. Social media handles is Carousel_weddings_events. We'll have all of this in the show notes. For Abby, it is Malekfoto Weddings, Malekfoto, malekfotoweddings.com and malekfotofilms.com. His Instagram handle is Malekfoto Weddings. And on Facebook, same thing, Malekfoto Weddings. So, Zainab, thank you again for helping me. I really appreciate it. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, Andy. I've really enjoyed our chat. And Abby is someone I respect as a creative. And I'm so happy to have been able to co-host this episode with you.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm going to be interviewing you within the next few weeks to feature you. And I can't wait.
Can't wait. Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for listening to The Wedding Biz.